Check, 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 check. One moment, folks. All right, give it another minute or so. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sweet Monday afternoon, folks. Especially for us as Eagles fans. Because yesterday, woo, we exacted our revenge. But I'm going to give it another or so. Took a nice little walk. Morning. Dun, 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 dun. Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory. Yes, sir, that's right. That was a good game. Woo. All right, gonna get care of this right now. Get the trash out. One moment. All right. Whew. All right. It's not, it's not summer weather, but it's still decent fall weather. All right. Still going to be doing these live streams outside while I have the opportunity to, because before you know it, I'm going to be doing a lot of indoor streams once we get that splash of cold kick in. So I'm going to take advantage of every opportunity to step out. Who you talk about? All right, let's see. So here we go. That's right. Yep, that was a great victory yesterday. Revenge is sweet, baby. Revenge is sweet. That's right. Revenge is sweet, and that was the case yesterday for the Philadelphia Eagles against the New York Giants. Taking care of business at the Link, continuing the proud tradition of winning games with the Kelly Green. That's right, the Kelly Greens brought us some great luck thus far, and we continued it yesterday, but whew, what a great game. Because when the injury report came out, we saw that Cam Jurgens was out, A.J. Brown was out, we knew that Adoree Jackson was out. We're a little bit skeptical because the last time we played him, but that quickly got erased early on. Remember, the first drive of the game, what happens? We hand the ball off to Saquon, right? What does he do? He finds a hole to his left. He cuts back, makes a slight cut move, and takes it to the house on the opening drive, give us the 7-0 lead. Then we did have a missed field goal by Jake Elliott, a 58-yarder, and then after that, Skattebo, which I'll get some more to him on a minute. He did even the game up with a touchdown. And it looked like we were going to have ourselves a bit of a competitive game, but it didn't end up being that way. We ended up decimating the Giants. Yeah, they did score a touchdown garbage time to make it an 18-point differential, to make it look a little more competitive, but it really wasn't that competitive. Kind of like the first matchup, but with the roles reversed. And in both cases, coincidentally, the home team won. This time it was our turn, so we evened it up with the Giants. Giants ain't sweeping us at the Link. Ain't sweeping us. And it's been since 2007, nearly 20 years since we've been swept by the Giants. So we turned the tide of that rivalry around head to head. I mean, yeah, sure, the Giants might win some battles against us, but make no mistake about it, the Philadelphia Eagles are the better team, especially from 2012 onward. I know it's kind of weird saying that because 2012 we had an abysmal season, but I say that because the last time the Giants won anything was the 2011 season. Since 2012, we've been to 3 Super Bowls, have 2 wins. Giants have only been to the playoffs twice. That's why I say that. So, yeah, we really turned the tide of that rivalry in our favor. Sure, the Giants may beat us head-to-head a few times, but ultimately we always bounce back from it, and we did that yesterday too. So there's no sweep for the Giants. We got our win. The run game actually showed up for the first time all season, which was great. Because we've been struggling with the ground game all season. We know Saquon Barkley just wasn't playing as great. And for those of you guys that saw him limp off yesterday, it's not really a worry. Saquon even said that he's all right, but he decided to opt out because we were already well up when it happened. He said it's a little, because then he showed up, put his helmet on and celebrated Tank Bigsby's touchdown. With Tank Bigsby, that's another thing. We didn't really see him all season. He had 1 carry going into yesterday. And all of a sudden we gave him 9. He had over 100 yards and a touchdown. And Saquon Barkley had another great performance too against his former team. This is what we were hoping for the first go around, but hey, that's a thing of the past. We got it yesterday. We got it. Saquon Barkley, that first drive, had that long touchdown run, set the tone early, and he continued to have an excellent game, including a reception touchdown. Which, when that happened, I first thought was, holy smoke, they actually used Saquon in the passing game. Because you guys have been following my streams know, I've been pushing for them to use Saquon in the passing game for a while, and they haven't really done it. And then when it happened yesterday, it was like, holy smokes, my prayers were finally answered. My prayers as a fan were answered. They finally utilized Saquon in the passing game, and it gave us the second touchdown of the game. And then that's when we were rolling. And we just continued to dominate the rest of the way. Devontae Smith did a good job filling in without A.J. Brown. And not just that, but you also had as well Dallas Goedert chipped in with 2 touchdowns as well, including one off of play action. So Goddard actually had himself a pretty solid game too. So we didn't miss a beat without A.J. Brown. They even said in the preview, there is the potential we could still make something happen even without A.J. Brown, because you still have who's a good number 2, and at times has played like a number 1 this season. And then you also have Goddard, who may not be the flashiest tight end in the world, but he can still make plays when needed to. And that's what happened yesterday. Dallas Goedert made some plays when needed to, got 2 touchdowns, helped us out. And Jalen Hurts, man, 4 touchdown passes on the day. Now he has 100 passing touchdowns for his career. So he's officially hit that mark. So shout out to Jalen Hurts for proving all the haters wrong again. He's just a running back. He's just a running back. Well, guess what? He now has 100 career touchdown passes and has a Super Bowl MVP and had himself 4 yesterday. So continuing the trend of having a really good passing season. And in this game too, we saw Jalen Hurts again. His mobility worked out perfectly. We saw him take off on a few plays. We had that 1 third down. The Giants decided to send the blitz, but they did it from the side. Oh yeah, Giants, guess what? Jalen Hurts is a mobile quarterback. You leave a hole in the middle, he's going to take off and run. And that's exactly what the Giants did. You remember that 3rd down? It was in the first half. They tried to send the house from the side, get some pressure on him, but Jalen Hurts, being that mobile quarterback, just took off up the middle and slid, got the 1st down, and that worked out in our favor. And he had several other plays too where he evaded pressure well. And this was great too by Jalen Hurts. We saw it was also that other 3rd down in the first half, which set up the tush push, which right before the Saquon go-ahead touchdown, we thought that was going to be. Initially, we thought that tush push was going to be a fumble. I remember that. Even when it happened, I thought, it's going to be ruled a fumble, ain't it? And then I remember when Brian DeBall was debating whether or not to challenge, I'm thinking to myself, dude, this fool's going to get roasted by Giants fans, ain't he? Because when I first saw it, I thought it may have been a fumble. I was thinking that looked like a fumble at first. I was like, Giants are probably going to challenge and win. But then Brian DeBall argued with the referees, then threw the challenge flag afterward, which honestly may have cost him the benefit of the doubt when he challenged. He probably would have been better off just throwing the flag. He may have gotten the benefit of the doubt, and that may have been ruled a fumble, which would have changed the go-ahead touchdown. But fortunately for us as Eagles fans, we'll never know if that's the case or not. That's just mere speculation, but I couldn't believe the ball argued with the referees first, then threw the challenge flag. Like, any reasonable coach, if you're going to challenge something, just throw the flag. Don't argue, because that could cost you the benefit of the doubt when they look it over. But, man, though, but Brian DeVault, dude, remember when people thought he was a good coach? Yeah, and even then in his post-game, like, what'd he say in the post-game? Well, they did really well on the ground. I give them that. It's hard to stop someone when they get over 300 yards on the ground. I'm like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Man, I'll tell you what, we as Eagles fans have sometimes been hard on Sirianni, but I'd certainly take him over Brian DeVault at this point. That little flash where everyone, including us Eagles fans, thought he was a good coach is over. And we saw that yesterday as well. I mean, everything was great as an Eagles fan from yesterday's game, except for one thing. And that was Cam Skattebo's injury. Obviously, no decent person would ever wish a serious injury upon anyone. That was a sad and that was a shitty deal for all parties involved, including the Eagles players and the Eagles fans, and especially for Cam Skattebo as well. Because here, this young man was having himself a really good rookie season. I mean, just 2 weeks ago, he torched us in week 6. He's looking like he might be on pace to have a really good rookie season, take over that number 1 slot, and then he gets a gruesome ankle injury, which unfortunately I didn't get to see it. I didn't see it in real time. I was off in the next room doing something else. Then I came back to the TV and I saw Jackson Dart's reaction where he was pissed. And I saw him in a kneeling position. Then I saw they were getting Skattebo on the cart and they put the cast around his leg. And as soon as I saw that, I'm thinking, oh, this is a gruesome injury. He's done for the season. Because we've seen enough football to know that when anytime you bring out the cart and you have to put a cast around someone's leg, it's a season ender. And it's a shame too, man. Because here's a young man who was poised to have a really good rookie season. Instead, he ends up getting a serious injury. And apparently, from what I heard, he had emergency surgery last night at a nearby hospital in Philly. And it was a gruesome injury too, because I didn't see it and I don't want to see it, but I know we had the entire Giants team down. And even the Eagles fans too, when he got carted off the field, they applauded out of respect. He even waved his hand. And fortunately, the Eagles fans did show respect in this case. Fortunately for us as Eagles fans and for me, the days of Michael Irvin's injury are over. For those of you that are longtime Eagles fans, you know what I'm talking about. Fortunately, we did not do that in this case. Fortunately, we as a fan base have come a long way in terms of being respectful since those days. But as far as Cam Skattebo goes, hopefully he makes a full recovery. And hopefully he can just for the sake of his own health, he makes a full recovery as well. Just so hopefully he can make a full recovery and at least walk again. I'm sure he'll attempt to make a comeback, but we'll see about that. That's going to be a long ways off from now. But prayers up to Cam Skattebo, and it's a shame, though. You don't want to see it happen, but that is the reality of football, though. It's a physical game, and that's the downside to it. There is the risk of these injuries happening, and unfortunately it happened for a young rookie who was looking like he was going to have a breakout season, and it's one of those things you don't want to see at all, but unfortunately happened. He had surgery. Hopefully he makes a full recovery, and we just got to wait and see on that one for there. So that was a downside for all parties, like I said. Nobody wants to see that. So that's that. And as far as, the Giants, though, I will say this. It's actually kind of a shame because they lost Neighbors who got carted off, and now Skattebo. And you got to wonder with Neighbors, though, being that this is the second straight season, what does his future hold for the Giants? But that's another question more so for tomorrow when I'm doing the 3-Point Blitz live on my channel in the Hardcore Sports Network at 11:30 where I'm going to talk more about week 8 as a whole. This one's more directed just toward the Eagles game. But yeah, so I pretty much said I was going to say about Skattebo. It's pretty much short to the point. Now back to the Eagles itself. Like I said, we said Jalen Hurts had himself a good game. But here was the other difference maker. The real difference maker was the defensive line in this one. Particularly the difference between week 6 and week 8. Now, week 8, we had 5 sacks, folks. 5. The defensive line was getting pressure. You had, who was it? You had Zach Bond, who not only had a sack, but had himself a good game as well. I'll get more to that in a minute. You had Bond got in. Jalix Hunt, who got the pick 6 on Carson Wentz last week, got in on a sack. He's starting to look like he might have something going for the future. You had Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. And who was the last one? Was it Og? I can't pronounce it right off the top of my head, but I think some of you guys follow, you know who I'm talking about, though. But we had 5 sacks yesterday, so we actually got pressure on Dart, and that made a significant difference between last time. And like I said, the difference maker, folks, is Jalen Carter himself. When he's in the game, the Eagles' pass rush is like day and night with him versus without him. And we saw in this one, it paid off with 5 sacks. And not to mention, he did have a tackle for a loss, too. And so did Jordan Davis. So that was a big factor there. You saw it. Like we said, the Cowboys game, Jalen Carter was ejected before he even played a snap for the spit in the huddle. And then you saw the pass rush was non-existent. Eagles caught several lucky breaks in that game against the Cowboys, including drop passes from CD, a fumble for Miles Sanders that helped out there. And then you saw the first go-around, week 6 against the Giants, no Jalen Carter. We nearly gave up 40. But then this go-around, week 8, you have Jalen Carter. We kept the Giants in check all game. They only got 20 points on us. And granted, one of those touchdowns was in garbage time late when the Eagles already knew they had the game won. We kind of figuratively took our foot off the gas pedal a little bit. And we're like, hey, we got this game. We're 6-2. We're going into the bye in first place and in control of everything. But this time around, the pass rush was way different. And like Mitch Kofsky, shout out to him. My partner in crime, Mitch, said it best. You always win games in the battle of the trenches. And we saw that yesterday from the Eagles defense. That played a key role. We didn't get any takeaways, but we won the battle of the trenches. We had numerous tackles for loss. We had 5 sacks. And that played a huge difference in this one. And speaking of great performances, I also got to give Zach Bond credit, too. He had himself a really good game. He had a total 6 tackles in this one. He did have a tackle for a loss, and he got in, like I said, he was one of the 5 sacks we got. So Zach Bond had himself another really good game, too. Clearly, all around, you're starting to see, we saw mostly the best from the Philadelphia Eagles in this one. We saw the best performance here going into the bye week. Now, think about it. At first, I'm like, okay, this could be great going into the bye week 6-2. I'm thinking the bye week either works in your favor or against you. Because either it can give you a week to regroup, or if you're on a roll, you get that bye week, it could slow down the momentum. That could work either way in this case. Now, in the case of last year, our bye week was week 5. It was an entirely different situation. We had the bye week. We were 2-2, and we were off an ugly loss to the Bucs. We were looking like we're going to be a mid-tier team. We took the bye week to regroup, and then starting with the week 6 game against the Browns, we start to slowly but surely get in that Super Bowl mode as the season went along, winning games and building momentum for the playoffs. But this time around, it's entirely different. It comes right after Halloween, the first Sunday in November, we got our bye week. We're 6-2. Now, it's a different story. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's different. And that bye week, we'll see what happens though. But then we got the Packers on a Monday night game at Lambeau Field following it in week 10. So that's going to be an interesting game. And the Packers, they're 5-1-1. They're fresh off a win against the Steelers. They stopped Aaron Rodgers from making history and beating all 32 teams as a starting quarterback. And hey, they have themselves a pretty good game. So the Packers, to their credit, are their formidable foe. Them and the Detroit Lions, I mean, Packers kind of looked a little shaky at first. They were, they had that tie against the Cowboys in the loss to the Browns. They were 2-1-1. We were questioning them a little bit, but they've won 3 straight since, and they look like a formidable opponent to go against. Now, I'll talk more about the Packers another time, but seeing that, we saw, hey, we're going to have our hands full a little bit with the Green Bay Packers. But so we got some time before then. And plus, what helped out too is the Denver Broncos, the first team that beat us, actually helped us out. They beat the Dallas Cowboys, and they did so in convincing fashion. I mean, granted, the Cowboys defense is trash, so we were kind of expecting this could be the game where the Broncos offense finally shows up, and they certainly did. R.J. Harvey had himself a long run. Broncos dropped over 40 on the Cowgirls. And I was thinking this was going to be a high-scoring game because Dak Prescott, to his credit, had been having a really good season. But he went against that top-tier Broncos defense. You have Nick Bonita, Patrick Surtain, an elite defensive back, easily top 3 in the NFL currently. And guess what? The Cowboys offense struggled to get going. So that was the icing on the cake for us as Eagles fans. First, we kick the Giants' asses, get even with them. Then we get to see the Cowgirls get their ass whipped by the Broncos. They fall to 3-4-1. Hey, we're continuing to win games. But like I said, back when I said this a few weeks ago, and I'll repeat, as long as we win games, we control our own destiny. And we did just that. We won. We're 6-2, 2 straight wins following the 2 losses. We're in control of our own destiny. And yes, the Broncos beating the Cowboys does help. Us beating a division rival in the Giants helps. Washington against Kansas City. Likely going to be a big win for Kansas City. That'll help us out as well to have all 3 of our division rivals lose. But as long as we win, we control our destiny. That's how I see it. And we most certainly did that yesterday. And with taking a second to soak in the views. Real quick, I'm just going to give you a quick pan before I get back to the discussion. This is where I'm at. This is a beautiful view. This is from Brigantine Beach, right on the outside of Atlantic City. There's Atlantic City right there. Some of the casinos. Just a quick view of where I'm at. Taking a second to soak it in. Let's see, I did want to say more about the run game, though. The run game had been missing all season. And in some games, that was our enemy, particularly in the Broncos game, where we didn't really get much going. Saquon was meh. Our passing game had its moments, but we weren't consistently strong throughout that game. And that hurt us, particularly in the second half. We saw the first go-around week 6 against the Giants. We didn't really get anything going with the ground game, and it hurt us, and ultimately cost us. But now, this go-around, we see the Philadelphia Eagles run game have its first real 2024-ish performance, meaning that they dominated on the ground, similar to the way we did last year, what we were expecting to continue this year. Yesterday was our first game doing that, and you saw how potent our offense was as a result. And Jalen Hurts still continued to have a really good game in the air as well with the 4 touchdowns. So this offense was clicking on all cylinders. And you can say, well, it helped that you're playing the Giants. And yes, that's true. But at the end of the day, great teams are supposed to deliver in any circumstance. And the Eagles did that yesterday on offense. Saquon had himself a really good game. You're hoping that this is the game that gets his confidence going. And anyone that was worried about him when he limped off with the hamstring, remember, we got a bye week. So Saquon even himself said the injury's not a big injury. he said himself pretty much implied that, hey, if it was a close game, I would have stayed in and toughed it out. But we had the game won. I played it smart and decided to come out. Basically, what he was saying. He didn't say it that way, but more or less, that's me summarizing what Saquon said. So he didn't let that injury stop him. So yeah, he came out of the game yesterday, but that was only because he didn't need to play. And plus, he's got a bye week to recover, so we're not worried about that. I'm not worried at all. And plus, we had ourselves a great performance yesterday against the Giants. And Tank Bigsby, too. He showed that he can be a valuable number 2 back. Maybe now, with that performance against the Giants, 9 carries over 100 yards, Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni will look around and decide, hey, we got ourselves a nice number 2 back here in Bigsby. Our GM did trade for him right after week 1, and now we're starting to see it come together. So now maybe they'll be more encouraged to use Bigsby going forward when we come back week 10 versus the Packers. So this could be if the Eagles play their cards smart, this could be the starting point where we start to see the Saquon Bigsby 1-2 duo for the remainder of the season. And maybe and I gotta wonder though too now, I thought about it. Now this is just a possibility. Not saying this is gonna happen. Maybe now with Tank Bigsby starting to come onto his own as the number 2 back after yesterday, maybe the Eagles decide they're gonna stick with him. Maybe they make a trade deadline move. Maybe they ship out A.J. Dillon and try to get a secondary player in return. But it would have to be the right team to do that with. Not sure if that's going to happen. Probably won't, but it is a possibility. But trade deadline's coming right around the corner. I think next week might be the trade deadline, I think. If any of you guys know, you can comment exactly. But we are coming up on the trade deadline soon. So if the Eagles are thinking about making a move, particularly with the secondary, time to make that move and get to it. So I think it's about time the Eagles do something. But we're going to have to wait and see. But the one thing I was saying, though, with the ground game, we had an excellent performance yesterday. Maybe now this is the time period where Saquon starts to catch on and maybe have himself, because yesterday he had that performance we were missing. It was something we haven't seen since the NFC Championship game against the Commanders last season. That was the first game we really saw Saquon go off and have himself an excellent performance. We were missing that throughout the whole season. We were missing it in weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then week 8 we finally get it. So maybe now it's just now this was against the Giants though, but this could be the turning point of the season. Maybe with the bye week, you get some of the players that are a little banged up healthy, get them some time to rest, and they come back recharged, and all of a sudden now we start clicking. Maybe we start clicking on all cylinders. This is probably the point where the running game actually gets going. We'll have to see. We will have to see on that one though. But like I said, we still got some time though. We got a whole week to recover. It's just great that we got this win. It was a great, confidence-inspiring performance by the offense. It was nice to see Jalen Hurts continue to ball out, have a good game down to A.J. Brown. It was nice to see the running backs producing this one. And we had, 300-plus yards rushing? That'll really help out in any game. And we got that here. So shout out, man, to the Eagles. They did their thing. We got our revenge against the Giants. Ain't going to be no sweep for the Giants, man. At least not for a long time. And it was crazy. I was reading it, trying to get some information together before I started this stream. So I just typed in Eagles Giants recap so I could look at the stats. And there were several articles that were suggested, right? You're going to find this funny now. Giant Wire, one of the suggested articles came from, there were sources, both Eagles and Giants. One of them was a Giant Wire source, said, implied that bad officiating played a role in the Eagles' win with the title of their article. I just laughed at that. I'm like, you hating ass crybabies. Dude, you're going to blame the officials for the fact that y'all lost to the Eagles, not the fact that your offensive line couldn't keep up with the pass rush, not the fact that your defensive line couldn't stop your former running back, not the fact that your secondary got torched by a team down their number one receiver. You're going to blame the officials. And not to mention, let's not forget, the first quarter of the game, there were some questionable calls where it looked like they were going against the Eagles. I remember the very first play of the game, the touchback. They made a call against the Eagles on a touchback, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck? I thought something was a little fishy about that. So don't give me that credit that bad officiating helped the Eagles win. To me, and that sounds like typical crybaby Giants. Remember back in the 2020 season when the NFC East was tank division, and we decided going into the second half of the final game, we had nothing to play for. We're not going to get anything out of it. And the Giants, only being a 6-win team, needed our help to win the division with 6 wins. And they got upset about us after the game and blamed us. Not the fact that they only won 6 games, but blamed the Eagles for the fact that they, as a 6-win team, didn't get in the playoffs. I knew when that happened, some of y'all, not all of y'all, but some of y'all was crybabies. And then as I'm scrolling, looking for a reliable source to read the recap, just to refresh my memory a little bit, one of the suggestions came from a non-biased source called Giant Wire. Yeah, because that sounds non-biased, right? Implying that the referees played a role in it. Please, y'all are just crybabies, and y'all can't accept accountability for anything, bro. What you talk about the referees? That's just comedy right there. I think it's comedy. It is. Y'all gonna blame the referees for the fact that y'all let Saquon Barkley and Tank Bigsby both get over 100 yards, like I said. I mean, come on. Enough said. Accept some accountability, Giant Wire. But you know what? Let them. We'll just laugh at it. Shake it off, and we gonna enjoy the win. Because guess what? We 6-2. We still in first place in the NFC East. We controlling our destiny. Like I said, after week 4, when that Cowboys-Packers game ended up being a tie, and we thought the Packers were going to have a great game, Parsons was going to get his revenge, I'm just like, you know what? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if the Commanders beat the Chargers. Doesn't matter if the Packers tied with the Cowboys. As long as the Eagles win out, that's all that matters. And that's what we did yesterday. We won out. We're now 6-2. Going into the bye week. No matter what happens during the bye week, we still in first place because of those 6 wins. We gonna come back ready for the Packers, who are a good team, mind you. Who beat the Steelers yesterday. Saw a pretty solid performance by them, especially in the second half. They picked apart that suspect Steelers defense and managed to have themselves a pretty solid all-around performance. So shout out to the Green Bay Packers, man. I'm going to look more into that performance in itself, see who really stood out or not. And now I'll talk about tomorrow on my live show, the 3-Point Blitz at 11:30, where I'm going to mostly recap Week 8 in the NFL and talk about all the games. So that's what I'm going to be preparing for. That's on the agenda for tomorrow, folks. And then on the agenda at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, exclusively on the Hardcore Sports Network, me and Agent Warrior, who is a Giants fan, are going live for Week 9 of the NFL Pick'ems, where we're going to pick the games to provide hot takes for Week 9. Also starting off with a brief recap of Week 8. So that's on the agenda for tomorrow. Now for today, I'm just going to relax, enjoy the win, baby. Eagles are 6-2. We in first place. Ain't nobody can change that. People can say what they want to. People can blame this, blame that, hate on this, but that's all just words. At the end of the day, facts speak for itself. Eagles are the defending Super Bowl champs. They're in first place in their division. They're in control of their own destiny, and they're fresh off a big win. So I'm happy with it, man. I will always say fly, Eagles fly, win, lose, or tie. I'm always repping the birds. I'm always going to be here talking about it and always supporting them. Just like I did yesterday, we saw a great game. Now, to bring on the Packers, yeah, we're not going to have anybody. We're not going to have anyone to cheer for necessarily next week, but hey, we're just going to use it as an opportunity to recharge, come back the next week strong, and go from there. Just going to get to turn off the fan bias. Look from week 9 from a spectator point of view. Come back ready to support the Eagles week 10 against the Packers. So that being said, folks, I'm going to wrap this thing up real quickly. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! Let's bring another Lombardi home, baby. Have a great rest of your day, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for showing your support. I'll be live tomorrow. My channel, Hardcore Sports Network, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to talk more about Week 8. So that being said, have a great day. Catch y'all then.